Okay, so you know how we're always talking about how important database security is?
Absolutely. Can't stress it enough.
Well, get ready, because today we're diving deep into parameterized queries, and let me tell you, this is a game changer when it comes to PHP and MySQL.
It really is. I mean, we're talking about keeping your data safe and sound, A&D, making your code super sleek and efficient.
Right. Who knew security could be so elegant? We're mainly taking cues from this awesome +2net guide, by the way. They lay it all out really clearly.
They do, and one of the first things they highlight is just how crucial parameterized queries are. Think of them like, I guess like a highly trained security detail for your database.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, break it down for me.
So instead of just throwing potentially iffy data right into your SQL queries, we're talking about using placeholders, like a buffer zone.
So we're adding this extra layer of like, what?
The separation.
Exactly. And it makes a world of difference, especially when you're dealing with user input, which, let's face it, is kind of a wild card.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this all fits together now.
Let me give you a scenario. Let's say you've got a form where users input their username. Pretty standard stuff.
Right.
With the regular old query, that input would basically plop right into the SQL command, no problem. But what if, instead of a name, someone enters, like harmful code?
Uh-oh, that's not good.
Not good at all. That's where our trusty parameterized queries come in.
Okay, so walk me through it. How do they actually, stop that from happening?
Picture this.
Uh,
You're building a system for a school, right? And you need to grab student info based on their class.
okay, got it. So instead of directly sticking the class name, let's say Biology 101, right into your query, you use a placeholder, kind of like a variable, let's call it dot class.
So it's like, the query would be like, select all the things from students where class equals dot classes.
You're getting it. Then you bring in a PHP function, like bind param, and this is key. You use it to link dot class, our little placeholder, to the real class, Biology 101, in a totally secure way.
So even if someone tries to be sneaky and put in something malicious instead of Biology 101, it's not going to work.
Exactly. The database is like, hey, this is just data. I'm not executing anything. And boom, you've avoided a potential disaster.
That's incredible. It's like a force field around your data.
You got it. You're essentially telling the database, no matter what you see here, treat this as data. Nothing more. Safety first.
So we're basically putting on a magic show for the database, making it think it's just dealing with harmless information.
It's more like we're speaking its language in a way that guarantees security. No tricks, just precision.
Right, right. And one thing that really clicked for me in this guide is that we're not limited to just one placeholder. We can use multiple parameters, which is awesome for those really complex queries.
You got it. Think about it. Let's stick with our school example. And now we want to find a student named Sarah in, let's say, Chemistry 101.
2 pieces of specific information.
Exactly. So we'd use 2 placeholders, one for the name and one for the class, and then bind them to Sarah and Chemistry 101 using that same bind param function. Keeps everything nice and secure.
Wow, okay, so we're talking about a whole system for slotting in data no matter how complicated the query gets. That's impressive. And you know what? I bet this makes the code way easier to read too.
You're absolutely right. That's a huge bonus. By keeping your data separate from the actual SQL query structure, your code becomes way more organized. It's a win-win for security and maintainability.
I can see that. Imagine having to change like a value that's used in a bunch of different queries.
Yeah.
With parameterized queries, you're only going to change it in one place, right? Not hunt through mountains of code.
Exactly. Now, speaking of keeping your data safe, the guide touches on something called SQL injection, which honestly sends shivers down my spine. Have you ever heard of it?
Vaguely, it sounds kind of scary, like a database virus or something.
It's a very real threat, and it can totally wreck your database.
Why?
Basically, imagine someone figuring out a way to sneak in malicious SQL code, maybe through like a comment section on a website or something. That's SQL injection.
So instead of typing in their name, they could type in code that messes up the whole database.
It can get that bad, yeah. We're talking about potentially reading, changing, even deleting critical data. It's a big deal.
Okay, now I'm really nervous.
Don't worry, because, lucky for us, parameterized queries are like the ultimate shield against that kind of attack.
Yeah.
Because we're treating all outside input as plain data, any harmful code just gets neutralized.
So it's like we've got this secret weapon that keeps our data safe, even when things get hairy. That's a relief.
Precisely. And the +2net guide really drives home the point that this isn't some optional extra. This is like database security 101. If you're serious about building secure applications, parameterized queries are Non-negotiable.
It's like we've upgraded our security system from, like, a bicycle lock to Fort Knox.
Right. And the best part is it's not even that complicated. Parameterized queries are elegant in their simplicity, which is probably why the guide emphasizes them so much.
Yeah, they make it really clear that this isn't just about, like, grabbing data safely. They even dive into how to use them when you're adding new stuff to the database, too.
Oh, absolutely. Consistency is key. Whether you're pulling up sensitive info or adding new records, parameterized queries are there to make sure everything's buttoned up tight. Good habits from the start.
It's like you're not just building an app, you're building one that's responsible, like it's got your users' backs.
100%. And while this guide gives you a super solid foundation, remember, the learning never stops. Technology is always changing, so staying curious and keeping your skills sharp is super important.
Totally agree. This whole deep dive has been amazing. We've covered so much ground, from the basics of parameterized queries all the way to how they prevent these, like, scary SQL injection attacks.
And let's not forget the whole code organization aspect too. It's all connected.
It really is. By understanding parameterized queries, you're not just becoming a better coder, you're becoming a more responsible one, which is huge.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's about building a more secure web, one query at a time.
So, to everyone listening, if you're working with PHP and MySQL, take it from us. Parameterized queries, they're your new best friend.
For real, they're the key to writing code that's safe, efficient, and honestly, just plain better.
And with that, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of parameterized queries. We hope you've enjoyed this journey as much as we have.
Absolutely. Keep those coding skills sharp, and remember, security is a marathon, not a sprint.
Until next time, happy coding, everyone.